Let's discuss. Hey everyone, it's Rachel back again with another video, and today I'm going to be checking out the title track off of Left to Suffer's new 3-track EP called Noah. This includes Snake, which I covered on the channel when it came out, and that track felt a bit different for them, so I am excited to see what the other 2 tracks will hold. I will link all of their social media, support links, all of that good stuff in the description, including tickets for their upcoming tour, which I will be seeing them on. It's a co-headliner with Distant, and I'm very excited about it. I will link all that stuff in the description, as well as the music video I'll be using in the reaction portion of this. Other than that, I'm going to stop talking and we are going to get straight into it. Ooh. All right, I hear you with that lead. Oh. This last part of the chorus is so good. Oh, I like that. Left to Suffer, Noah, let's discuss. So I like this track a lot. I think I would prefer it over Snake. I loved Snake on first listen. It didn't really stay on rotation for me as long as I had expected it to, but now that the full EP is out, who knows what will happen. I'll put it back on the playlist for sure and see where things go. This has the lead that I had mentioned. I loved that sound. It's definitely much different than, you know, the leads I've talked about loving through the On Death EP. I've talked a lot about that in my Left to Suffer video, so I don't want to touch back on that because I feel like we've moved away from that sound to some degree. They don't sound like a different band or anything, although this EP clearly has a different feel than even Feral, which also came out this year. They're continuously putting out a ton of music ever since 2020, I feel. I think it's a hard bar to set with coming out with something like On Death for the EP that caught the most traction for them. They kind of blew up into a different space with that EP. They have stuff in their discography, and one of my favorite tracks they've ever done is older in their discography, Lost at Last. I am absolutely in love with that track. I have no idea what it is about those like over the top heavy call outs, but they are directly up my alley, so that's what brings that track above the rest for me. Depression is probably the bar for this genre of music for me. One of my top songs in bands I would put in the same realm as Left to Suffer. It is just incredible, and from the first time I heard it, I was just in love with it. I think Feral kind of taps more into that sound, but still has moved away in a certain... Obviously, you can't put out the same release time and time again. It just doesn't work like that, and it seems like Left to Suffer is experimenting with having different people working on the production end of things with them, kind of seeing where they're going next. I think with all of the music that's been coming out, that's at least what I think about it. I wouldn't be able to tell you between the two tracks I've heard off this EP and Feral which one sticks out more for me. I'd need to give some more listens and obviously listen to the third track off of this EP to make a call like that. But I know Snake was a point of I don't want to say debate, but it was definitely like you love it or it's not what you're looking for from the band. For me, I really like hearing the bigger, even larger range of vocals from Taylor, including the singing, because he is just such a talented vocalist. I've talked about his solo work on Phone Booth, and that stuff is just a completely different side of Taylor that I think if you have the context of that stuff, you're not quite as surprised by hearing him sing in this. And then you obviously have the people who just don't want any singing in their deathcore, and that's fine. Those people are definitely very vocal about that, I feel. And it doesn't feel that way for me. I feel more like taking things in context of the song and how they fit together, not that I'm like not looking for that in my music or anything. So I think with Snake, I liked the chorus a lot, but then I don't know if I burnt out on it or what, but this one I think has a different approach still, even though it fits together very well with Snake. It still has that sort of like singy, not quite like, not full-blown Phone Booth or anything type singing, but it has a very different, almost anthem-y, I guess is how I would describe the singing on the two tracks I've heard off of this EP, and that makes it catchy for sure. And I'm not sure if that's what it is for me that makes stuff kind of burn out, that I don't listen to a ton of stuff that has that style, but I do like to see Left to Suffer sort of experimenting around. This has some huge riffs in it, just some big instrumental moments overall. It has some of those drops that I'm really looking for from Taylor's vocals ever since the first time I heard this band with Depression and the On Death EP. Some of the just like the quirky like big drops, the Uggs and stuff like that. I love that. That for me is very appealing in this. I think the vocals at the very end of the song were beautiful, and I think I would have, like, it's not a big deal, but it would have been cool to see them incorporate it a little bit more through the rest of the song somewhere, and I like the sound of them. So that outro is going to be something that I definitely listen through to the end of the song for, because it's just beautiful. I love the way that sounded. You have like the crunchiness, the aggressive parts of Left to Suffer here, but they're obviously also doing something very different. So I'm curious to see what the last song will be like. I'm gonna try to make a video for it. I've took some time off for personal reasons, as a lot of you know, so that's just kind of why I'm doing the one track today. I talk too much in these outros as it is just with one song, so I just stuck to the one for now, but I will try to get the second one on the channel at some point in the near future. With this track, different, I don't know that there's necessarily with this style anything I would directly want to see done differently. I felt like with the chorus, like the last one, was going to vary and it was going to add the twice again, you wouldn't think twice. I think that it like left me wanting that to happen for some reason. So that would be a very small nitpick as well. There's nothing major about this that I would want to see differently. I know we all have our favorite parts of Left to Suffer and stuff, but I've really been enjoying seeing what they put out, even if it doesn't resonate with me on like a level where something like On Death, which for me is one that probably would be a top 10 EP of all time if I like really I've made my album list for a ton of years. I know my overall album list. I've never really sat down and done like favorite EPs of all time lists, but I do feel if I did that, this would be pretty high up on that list. Not this, sorry, but On Death would be pretty high up on that list. So when I've talked on the channel about this a good amount too, but when I have something like that that has such a high bar, I don't go into new releases like this expecting just the same thing again, although there are qualities, of course, that I want to see. I think the leads in that track I cannot talk today, that EP On Death are just a bar that I haven't heard anyone else do some of the like really wacky stuff. Like the breakdown on Depression is just one of the coolest things I've ever heard. And so of course I personally find that to be like my absolute favorite sound, but songs like Consistent Suffering off of Feral, they just have some really cool stuff that they're incorporating that feels in that same vein, but just in a different sound. It sounds different. Maybe it's not necessarily a wacky lead, but just doing something else that's really different. They've kind of leaned in on that record, not on this that I've heard, but Taylor doing some of those like really weird vocal things that are super quirky and I think make the band stick out a lot. So I don't think this track necessarily sticks out in the ways that a lot of people are now expecting from Left to Suffer, but if you can appreciate the EP for what it is, it's very good. So this sound, I don't know, again, just to kind of wrap it up here, I don't know how much I'll find this on repeat, but it also could be one of those things that has the potential to be a grower for me, and maybe I'll end up playing it a ton. I'll check back in if I am able to make that last video for this EP and kind of touch back on where I've fallen with this song and the rest of I wanted to say the rest of the EP, but this track and Snake, when I put it back on the playlist, it happens to like jump back up for me, but we'll talk about that in the closing video. Those are really my thoughts on this song. I will link the music video I used in the reaction portion of this, as well as, like I mentioned in the beginning, all of the band's support links. Tickets will be available probably on their website, but I'll double check it and make sure a link is there where you can check if they're coming to your city. All that stuff will be in the description. You can also find my link tree there. I am moving my streams, my request streams, over to Twitch off of YouTube, twitch.tv/RachelReacts. The Twitch link is in there. I also have a ton of plans for some streams that are not request streams but are music related. So if you want to be updated when I go live, feel free to give the Twitch channel a follow. My Patreon will also be in the link tree in the next week. At the time I'm filming this, there's going to be a big update there that I've been talking about since before I took my break. Obviously, rolling that out and then taking a break on things is not a good way to do it, so that's why it's been delayed a little bit, but we are about to go live with that. Also, the Discord server invite link is in the description in the link tree as well. That is where the community is based for my YouTube channel. We've got a lot of really great people in there, music lovers, having both music related and unrelated to music conversations. So if you want to join and check that out, that will be there. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.